All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Jay Liwanag, and I work at the Costello College of Business Career Center. Thank you for taking your time today to attend this resume workshop. It's on the basics and formatting of resumes. We have a special guest today that I'm very excited to have, and I definitely hope that each and every one of you that are on this session today take advantage of his time and his expertise, and feel free to stop us and ask any questions. Either unmute yourself or go via the chat, and we can hopefully answer your questions. Without further ado, I'm going to actually turn it over to our special guest just so that he can introduce himself. He has a lot of extensive experience in this arena. He's a college and military outreach professional for his organization. So he does go to a lot of campuses and recruits students like yourselves. And I know that he's going to have a lot of knowledge that he'll be able to impart as we talk about the resume. So I'm going to turn it over to Ty to just introduce himself, and then we'll begin.
Hey, thank you, Jay, for the introduction. And hey, everybody, it's a pleasure to meet you guys. Again, my name is Ty Clifton. I am the College and Military Outreach Manager for Stanley Martin Homes. Stanley Martin Homes is a residential construction company, and our mission is to design and build homes that people love at a price they can afford. We're in a seven-state region from Maryland all the way down to Florida. We have 16 division offices. We're a $1.2 billion operation, and we're excited about the growth for the next 3 to 5 years as we continue to move forward in growing our business. Like Jay said, I've been with Stanley Martin for it'll be 5 years in September. Started as a corporate recruiter, moved up to manager of talent acquisition, and then was moved over to do the college and military outreach because we saw a need to hire college graduates and transitioning veterans for our positions, our entry-level management positions. And we're excited to I've been partnering with George Mason for at least 3 years and getting students hired for our position. So super excited to talk with you guys. I've been doing recruiting for 10 years. Prior to that, I was an old Army guy, served for 25 years. For me, I really enjoy helping people get the jobs of their dreams. So, without further ado, I'll just turn it over to Jay for this very important class, and feel free to ask questions as we go along.
Great. Thank you, Ty. I appreciate that introduction, and thank you for your service and also for your time here today. And again, as I mentioned, this is the resume workshop. It's on basics and formatting. Please feel free to stop us at any time. I am going to send you a copy of this presentation, so you don't have to worry about taking drastic notes or anything. We will make sure that you get a copy of it. And we're not going to go over every single slide, but you'll have the copy for your reference in the future. So overview of resumes. We'll talk a little bit about preparation, the different sections that you should be looking at, formatting tips and tricks, and putting everything together. So when we talk about preparation, the key is, again, the resume is your brand. It's who you are. It's what you're going to, if you're going to be applying to Stanley Martin Homes or any other organization, it tells the talent acquisition specialist, the recruiter, who you are in terms of your education, your experience, and your skills. And as we all know, we cannot put everything down in one single page. But what we want to focus on, and we'll talk a little bit about this throughout this presentation, is the relevant skills and experiences that you have that will be tied to what the employer is looking for. That's why it's very important. So if I'm applying to a job at Stanley Martin Homes, it's very important for me to see the job description that Ty has put out there and looking for those keywords and those opportunities and how my experiences and my education and skills fit in with what he's looking for. So to start with, if you could take a minute or two to write down 5 to 10 strengths or attributes that you possess. These are just some examples like leadership, communication, analytical skills. And then ask yourself these questions of why should an employer, again, like Stanley Martin Homes or any employer, hire you over someone else? And then how would classmates, coworkers, supervisors describe you? What would they say about you? So it's important to understand yourself as you're building your resume. So take a minute or two to think about those strengths. And if any of you want to share on the chat, feel free to do so as well. And just take a little bit of a minute to do that. And while you're doing that, Ty, is there anything you want to add in terms of preparation as someone starts to prepare to put their resume or is revising their resume?
You hit a lot on the target on dead on as far as the information. What I would share is as you're putting your contact information, having a good email address, location, you can just put where your hometown is, right? And a phone number. And I say that because as a recruiter, what I'm going to do is if I reviewed your resume and your cover letter, I'm going to email you, call you, text you. We always use we say that we'll do it 3 times. At that point, if we don't hear from you, then we're going to move on. But if you have the good address where I know, or a good location, I don't need to know your full address, but at least a location that tells me how far you are from the job opportunity that I have. If you're here in Ashburn, let's just say Ashburn, and the job is here in Reston, perfect. If you're in Baltimore and the job's here in Reston, not so good, right? So those are things that we're going to look at.
Thanks, Ty, and thank you, Lyle, for submitting. Lyle mentioned customer service, sales, communication, and self-starter. So I like that. That's some hard skills as well as some soft skills that are on there. There's a question here. This part really confused. When a person describes a strength or attributes, how would a person know what keywords that an employer to see versus what they don't like to see, as some like myself are unsure of what words that we can use to describe ourselves for strength and weakness. Ty, do you want to answer that one?
Right. So these are the non-tangibles, right? So leadership, management skills, customer service, applying that, putting those into phrases or words that say, this person has those non-tangibles, right? Because you're going to school so we can see what you're majoring in. But when you want to outline where your strengths are, you want to be able to say strong communicator, above, top management, top leadership skills, team player. So those are the things that, don't directly see all the time, right? But you've built those over your time. You know how to communicate with people to get your message across. If you played in sports, then you know how to be a team player. So some of those things are important for us to hear from you that don't exactly come out on the resume. So that's something that kind of considers those attributes.
Great. Thanks, Ty. So here's some of the 3 rules of resumes for as you're preparing. Every resume has a purpose. So when you are looking at different opportunities, there's a different purpose, and there's also different things that each of them, every job entails. And everything on your resume that you put on there, as I mentioned earlier about relevant skills and experience, it has to reflect that purpose, whatever it might be. And when it does, that's your brand, and that's when a talent acquisition professional like Ty will be able to see that, and it'll resonate clearly to him what you bring to the table and how it might fit in with his organization. So order your resume from most relevant to least relevant. The format. So here's a little bit of a format that we've utilized. There's a lot of different formats that you can use. This is one that we have here at George Mason, and it doesn't mean that you take this template and you follow everything to a T. You have to make it your own, but it has different sections in here. You'll see there's the contact information, which is at the top. You have your professional summary, which is optional. That's at the top there. I really like the professional summary just because if I'm sending my application over to Ty and I read his job description and I really looked at what he needed and I have all those skills of what he needs, if I was able to quickly put it up there in terms of the key skills he's looking for, plus the attributes that I bring to the table that match his organization, he's going to have an easier time to read my resume, and then he's going to probably, hopefully, look more so down at the rest of it. Is that true, Ty? Would that happen?
I Yes, and I will at the same time I won't contradict what you're saying because it is good to do a quick summary. Sometimes you can capture that in the cover letter.
Mhm.
Sometimes I think from the start, a lot of times we'll be like, hey, we know that what you're looking for, you're applying and telling us. Let me back up. Some people will say, objective. versus professional summary. Summary tells here's the strengths, here's a quick caption of what we're doing versus an objective. I'm not a fan of the objective because I
Yep.
know that you're looking for a job, right? So let's get to the meat of it. Let's start looking at your contact information, your education, and your professional experience. So I do agree with the summary. I don't agree with the objective. So kind of keep that in mind.
Yeah, no, no, definitely. I agree with that 100%. Um, oh, there's some questions here. How long does a resume have to be? Why do some employers require job seekers to have a resume intro page versus a professional one-page resume? Hmm.
In my opinion, one page, front and back, that's it. And I tell my students, I tell other people, I don't care what you did 20 years ago. I'm looking at the last 5 to 10 years, right? So don't overwhelm with was something that happened, 20 years ago. I had a full head of hair, you know what I mean, and 50 pounds lighter. So it's not who I'd be representing, right? What we want to see is what your current relevant experience has been or what you've been doing. So I kind of keep that in mind. Keep it to one pager front and back, depending on how much experience you bring to the table.
So then there's the education piece. And as you see from the education, we've placed your degree first, the Bachelor of Science in Business, which is what everyone gets at George Mason, and then the concentration of finance, and then the university with your date as well as your GPA. Then the next is the experience that you have, extracurricular activities, looking at the volunteer and extracurricular activities, the different skills that you might have. And then there's other sections as needed. So you can put relevant coursework. Some people add relevant coursework because maybe they don't have as much relevant work experience. And that's always that happens to a lot of students just because we don't expect you to have a lot of work experience just yet. But you might have taken some really, really valuable courses where you worked on a project that was pretty amazing that kind of showcases all the skills that an organization needs. So think about that if that would pertain to you and would help in terms of building your brand. Course projects, as I mentioned, research. So definitely that's a good thing too. And then honors and awards as well. Are we missing anything, Ty?
No, I think you hit it on the head. These are all good. Some things that you want to be cautious or cognizant of. When people put extracurricular, make sure any of these that they are relevant to the job that you're applying to. All right. And I just want to be clear, great if you're an athlete and you run and jog and play chess and all that stuff, but if it's not really relevant, let's not use it as a place as a filler, right?
Yeah.
Let's keep it to, short and concise. I always tell people that resumes and cover letters get your foot in the door. You have to present yourself as the best candidate and, attract the hiring manager so that they want to reach out to you. Something to think about.
Yeah, that's great. Great food for thought on there. Then, professional associations and memberships. And also, if you're putting those as well, just as Ty just said, make sure it's relevant. So, the contact information here. So, again, the name, it's the biggest thing on your resume. If you don't have your name on there, the individual's not going to be able to know who you are and reach out to you. Now, I've actually seen people send resumes, and I've had it as a recruiter where they didn't put their name on there. And I was really baffled because actually the resume looked good, but I was like, why don't you have a name on here? And then city and state, there's no need to include the exact address because if and when you eventually submit your application, you'll put all that information in and hopefully we'll get the job. But in the beginning, just put the city and the state. So there's a question here from Priya. Does it have to be your legal name or can it be the name you go by? So
Yeah, so on the resume, if you go like for instance, I would put Tyrone D. Clifton, or in parentheses, I might put Ty, right? But on the application, you want to put your full correct legal name, right? So that when moving forward in the interview process, not only but in the background check, that it's correct. That's what I would share with you.
great. Thanks, Ty. Hopefully that answers your question, Priya. Professional email is last name and first name or last name with first name initial?
In my opinion, what's ever easiest for to write, right? Like, first and last name's fine. Keep it professional. Don't don't get too wrapped up if your last name, first name. Keep it
That's
very
it.
professional.
Yeah, and that's definitely key because I know I've seen some emails that had person's gamer information on there and everything, and
Right.
I didn't don't need to know that. And if you don't have a professional email already, just create another Gmail. And if it's a common name, so if Ty Clifton is a common name and someone already took it, I might put Ty Clifton 3 or whatever, a number right next to it. So again, it's a little bit more professional. And then the LinkedIn, make sure you're customizing it and so the recruiter can get to it because a lot of recruiters do look at the LinkedIn and they can get more information on you by looking at that as well.
Also, yeah, definitely your LinkedIn profile and make sure it matches with what you have in your resume. If I have to really think about it or dig into it and I've got 100 resumes to review, I'm just going to pass.
So again, with the contact information, this is just an example. It's very simple, very easy to read. I can see this is Mary Mason. I can have all of her contact information. LinkedIn's on there. If I had to type it in, it was easy to type in and I can easily access her. So the professional summary, as we mentioned, and I agree 100% with Ty, it's I think stronger than an objective. I see a lot of students put an objective, and as Ty had said, I already know why you're applying, and I know about my job and everything. But so, what is your true qualifications for the position? You know, how are you fitting in both the hard and the soft skills that you have? That's going to fit in with what my company needs. And then there's optional skills bullets as well to place on there. Um, so this is just an example. So as you can see, they are saying they're a marketing student, but they're not saying right away that, oh, I'm a marketing student that is seeking a marketing position at Stanley Martin Homes. You know, I'm not doing that. I'm selling more of some of the skills that I have, what I've done, consumer behavior. I'm good at public relations. I'm adept at some of these technology skills because maybe I read in the job description that they needed someone with Salesforce, someone with the Creative Cloud, and then what I'm also well versed in. So I'm good at different analytical skills. I'm strong with my communication and I build rapport pretty quickly. Any thoughts on this professional summary?
Nope, hit some highlights real quick, and again, it does enough to attract the hiring manager or the recruiter to reach out to you.
Great. So now the skills section here. This is again, you can include it in the professional summary if you decide to put a professional summary, or you can also showcase your skills as a standalone section of your resume. And again, it should be relevant skills. So I'm not going to put all my skills that I have in there. If it's not relevant to the job that someone that I'm seeking, then I shouldn't put it on there. This is an example. So this is just another example. It extends from what I just read, but it shows you maybe someone needs someone who's a bilingual individual who can speak Spanish, marketing trends, and Adobe certified associate, all the different skills that might entail the job. This is another option. So again, if I didn't want to put it in a professional summary, or if I didn't have a professional summary, or I wanted my own skills section, I can add a skills section as well. So when it comes to education, it's fairly simple. It's your degree and concentration with any minors that you might have. Make sure you put your school name on there and spell out the school name. I've seen people use acronyms and stuff and just make sure the name is in there correctly. Like for Northern Virginia Community College, I've seen people put NOVA. Definitely spell it all out. Graduation dates, if it's anticipated, and then optional, your GPA, if it's 3.0 or higher, is always good to put, and any honors and awards and relevant coursework. So this is just a quick example, as you saw earlier from the bigger resume. And then the big part is experience. So it can be many different things. So these are just some of the things. It's not just some people come into our office and be like, well, I've never had an internship. I don't have this, or I'm only a waiter and a waitress, and I've done this, this, and that. There's a lot of good skills and experience that you gain from a lot of different things. So it could be paid part-time, full-time positions. It could be your internships, volunteer work. People often forget about the volunteer work, especially as Ty said, if it's relevant. If it's a relevant volunteer experience, it could be just as powerful, if not even stronger, than some of your part-time work that you're doing. Club campus involvement. A lot of recruiters, especially coming into colleges, they want to see students that are involved. And that doesn't mean you have to be the president of an organization or anything, but you want to be involved and do different things and show your versatility. Significant course projects. So you could have had a course project that is tied. So if I want to work for Stanley Martin Homes, maybe I did something on a project that was based on their industry. so I can showcase that and show them that I understand the kind of work that they do. And then job simulation. So there's a Forage, and you'll get this presentation where you can link to Forage. Forage gives you a lot of different simulations where you can add experience and showcase that as well on your resume. Are we missing anything, Ty?
No, you're hitting it on the head, and I was just going to maybe just add enumeration. If you're like, oh, well, I just wait tables, or okay, well, let's talk about that a little bit and expand on if you're dealing with money or dealing with number of customers. Let's say you're seeing 100 customers a week. That tells a better number than just, hey, I'm a waiter or a waitress, right? That tells me that you have capacity to manage a whole lot of people and customer service events. If you're that, and also look at the numbers. If I'm a waiter and there's 100 customers and every customer is, is buying at least $20 to $30 worth of food, put those numbers together, right? That could end at the thousands. Not only have you managed 100, plus customers, you're also managing thousands of dollars worth of revenue for the company. So
Yeah.
keep that in mind.
Yeah, so we got two questions here. Just to be clear, what Daniel says, when you say relevant, it needs to be between 5 to 10 years, not 15 years or 20 years, correct?
In my opinion, yes. Let's keep it to the last 10 years, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Unless it's been consecutive, again, you want to, when you do that, you show career progression. So hired, let's say 15 years ago as an associate, promoted to, then you can show a trend line to where you have had, you have great tenure and career progression.
Yeah, I think that might answer Sonia's question. She said on her resume, if you got a promotion in the company, would it be a separate experience entry, or would I put both titles in the same experience, for example, entry level to senior staff?
Correct. I would say, hired as and the date and time, or the date, promoted to in that position. And then you start talking about the responsibilities in your current position. So again, to me, that highlights that, hey, this person has great tenure and career progression moving forward, moving up in their career. Those are the ones that get high, in my opinion, recruiters excited because we want to know that that person is able to, stay at a job and then perform very well to get promoted in the job.
Yeah, yeah, it shows that progression.
Correct.
Experience required information. This is just the basics. Again, the date, make sure your dates are aligned, duties, responsibilities, and accomplishments. So that's a key word too. When you're looking at your experience and you're adding your experience in your bullet points, make sure that you're not just writing what you did, which is just the duties, but what did you accomplish by doing that? Or what was the result that really helped the organization?
Correct. I wholeheartedly.
So this is an example. We talked a little bit about stuff. This is just shows a little bit of someone who was a project management intern. They're using some strong action verbs to start things, and then they're telling a little bit of what they've done. And as much as possible, as Ty had said, you can put numbers and quantify things. It makes it so much stronger. You can't always do that, but when you can, I would definitely encourage you to do that.
Wholeheartedly agreed.
So usually it's 3 to 5 bullet points. You don't want to put too much in there, and you want to stay consistent. Again, it's the most relevant skills as we've talked about already, and they're not complete sentences. So I'm not going to say I did this, this, or that, or we did this, this, and that, and everything. You want to, make it really concise. Use again strong action verbs. Provide evidence as much as possible of that skill and what you had accomplished. So this is the example that we had kind of alluded to is if you look at a job duty versus the accomplishment, someone can easily say, so if Ty and I both were waiters at an organization or at a restaurant, we both probably would definitely say, oh yeah, I waited on tables and served food. But imagine if I put that on my resume and then Ty puts in utilize strong communication skills, excellent order, and so forth, tasking while serving 300 plus people and so forth. Who are you going to hire, or who are you going to want to try to listen to more? I would want to listen to Ty versus myself because that's really much of a stronger accomplishment statement. As you should see, it's using some of the soft skills that are out there. People often forget that employers are also looking at those soft skills. It's not all technical. And a lot of times I can teach you the technical, but it's very difficult to get you those soft skills. Formatting. So things about aligning the dates on the right side making sure that that's a big thing. I think people like Ty and others, they're going to look at that because that shows your attention to detail. That shows that you can format something well. Because if you have to put a proposal together in the future, you're going to have to be looking at the same type of things. So
Right.
listing your job title, the company, the location, and the date on one line to conserve the space if you need it. You can reduce the margins as well to 0.5 if you're like running out of space. You're like, I can't reduce it to one page versus 2 pages. And then even between your degrees. And again, as Ty said, you need to keep it to one page. Unless you have 5 to 7 years of relevant experience or more, maybe you're going to put it to an additional page. Or sometimes the government and some like even educational institutions, they might want to see more detail of your research and things. So you might go over one page, but definitely no longer than 2 pages, but ideally one page. Putting it all together, there's no perfect resume. So you can't just take a template. I've seen students take templates and they just use the template. Even the class that I'm teaching, sometimes they'll take the template and put it in there and they're not making it their own brand and not making it who they are. And I think, for those of you who are marketing majors, I know in the past when I used to work with advertising agencies and so forth, we wanted to look at the creativity. And this was before ATS systems, applicant tracking systems were out there. And I, liked it when they jazzed things up and they made it look really cool and creative. But in today's world, when these resumes are going through applicant tracking systems, you want to stick with a basic format because if you don't, you might have the most pretty looking resume out there, but it's not going to read correctly when it goes through the applicant tracking system. So create a master resume always, where you have your experience there, but you're going to tailor it. So I'm not going to send Stanley Martin Homes the same resume that I sent to, Hit Construction. It's going to be totally different based on, again, the relevant skills and experiences I have that are tied to that employer's job. Keep the language concise and so forth. Any other thoughts on that, Ty?
No, you hit it on the head. As far as that, making it concise, making it readable, make it, don't make it hard for me to read or understand what you're doing because I'm going to move forward, right? If your font is less than 10, that it just makes it too tight and just, also have, where it says no perfect resume, but do your due diligence to have, once you complete your resume, have somebody else look at it.
Yeah.
Have two people look at it so that, because sometimes you're so tunnel vision, if you will, if you put it like this, and you're so focused that you miss things. So don't be afraid to have somebody look over your resume. It's not your credit score, right? Just have somebody look it over, maybe make some suggestions. You take it in, make the adjustments, and then move forward.
So there's some final details. Again,
Hmm.
grammatics, spelling, typing errors. Those are the things that just can really knock you out of the running by just missing. You might have all the skills and all the experience that an
Right.
employer wants, but you just make those little typos or little grammatical errors, and then that they really see that and critique it. Just as Ty said, have someone that you trust really look at your resume and give you that really, really good feedback. We can do that for you at the Career Center, but also just have people that because when people know you well, they kind of know your tendencies and they can even tell you. So if Ty and I, if we knew each other well, I could say, hey, Ty, it's not hitting the mark. You've got so much more. You're missing this. Remember when we did this on this project and stuff?
Right.
It's just not there. Um, or I can say, this is fantastic. It's phenomenal. It really captures your essence. And that's what you want them to be able to say. Um, and as Ty had said, a resume does not get you the job, but it can help you get there. So you definitely want to try to have as strong of a resume as you can. You'll hear us say this. A lot of people say this. The resume is one part of the job search process. It's really taking time to network and to really make those connections. Like you're here today, so opportunity to network with myself as well as Ty, and hopefully you'll stay in touch with us, where we're here to help you as well. And some recruiters, they don't like cover letters, or they might not even read them. But the least I say is if it's optional, and they didn't say do not send a cover letter, if I send it, and if I send it to Ty, maybe he'll look at it, and maybe if I am if he's choosing between me and another candidate, and he starts to read our cover letters, if my cover letter is stronger or if I am able to articulate something that I really wanted him to know, then hopefully I would be the one that he would choose.
Wholeheartedly agree with you, Jay. As a younger recruiter, I would just show me the resume. But now, as it gets more competitive, today we just opened up a marketing internship in the merchandising department, and I had 7 resumes. 5 of them had cover letters, the other 2 didn't. And I went with the 5 that had cover letters. They had a nice, well-prepared letter that, identified, even they knew who I was, right? So, hey, Mr. Clifton, I'm very interested in the job. Thank you, all that kind of thing. That was a little more personal, right? So to me, that made better sense than the person who just, hey, I applied because I saw it on Handshake, right? Which isn't wrong. But when it gets competitive, you want to have that, competitor's edge, if you will.
Thank you for saying that, because that's a great example. And I know that Ty's not the only employer that says that. I've heard from many of them that's what they've done is, and if you think about it, individuals like Ty and others, like they are looking at hundreds of resumes sometimes every day. And so again, what can you do to stand out from the crowd? So part of it is also being ready for interview preparation as well as salary negotiation. There's another question here. What does it mean by network? What is the format of a cover letter?
So networking, you're doing it now where you're meeting other people that are outside of your sphere, your influence, right? That can help you, right? The organizations at, the career center, the folks who you work with or meet, those are part of your network, right? So opening yourself up to say, hey, my name is Ty Clifton. I'm very interested in a job opportunity, or I just want to get to know you because you have, some experience that I'd like to know more about, right? So, and I'm a big fan of using LinkedIn because you can connect with, pretty much anyone who's on LinkedIn that can help you in your career. I will share with you, and we just did it where met a person at a career fair. They knew one of our leaders here at Stanley Martin, and they applied for a position. So we had 10 resumes. That person's resume went right to the top because of that connection. That's the network. I would tell you that if you know somebody at a company and you have a good relationship, your resume is going to go to the top versus if you just put it in an application with the rest of them.
Yeah.
So that was part 1. And then part 2, there's a format, I would say when, you're putting together your cover letter, introduce yourself, introduce what you're applying for, some 3 to 5, and it has to be bullets, but 3 to 5 sentences of why you're the best candidate for that position, and then refer them to your resume and have your contact information in there. So that's why I would tell you that does no, template for a resume for a cover letter. What you want to do is make sure that it, introduces you and refers the hiring manager to your resume, and putting those 2 together is what gets your foot in the door.
Yeah, no, thank you for saying that, Ty. And Daniel, what I'll do as a bonus for you attending this and for everyone that's attending this is on top of the presentation that I'll be sending to you, I will also send you a copy of what we have in terms of a cover letter and an example. So you'll have that. We also do a workshop on that in the future. So if you want to attend that, you can attend that as well. So again, a great resume can open doors, but a poor one can close them pretty quickly. A poor one can close them.
Yeah.
We do have AI, and as we know, we're living in the world of AI, so it's something that you should use. You shouldn't copy and you shouldn't paste and just say, okay, whatever AI says is going to be who I am, and that's where it is. You want to really make sure it really creates your presence and your brand. So if you use this QR code, and again, I'll send you this presentation, and if you don't already have access to our Costello Career AI and what we call Theo, it's an opportunity for you to perfect your resume and to look at it, and it gives you a sample. So if I put a job, say I'm applying for Stanley Martin Homes, and I put a job on there, and I put a job that Ty has posted and it's on there, I can plug it into the system, and then I can tailor my resume first. But then once I tailor it, I can put it into the system, and it'll tell me, similar to what an ATS applicant tracking system would do, it'll tell me the percentage of a match that I have with his job. And then from there, it'll also give me tips on what I can do to improve it. So maybe I didn't read his job carefully enough, and he used a certain word for customer service or whatever, just as an example. And I just used a different nomenclature, or I just didn't even think about it because it wasn't something that was on my radar. it would give me those tips where I could easily change and tweak my resume so that that percentage hopefully will rise to 75, 80% or above.
Right.
So I'd encourage you to use this, and feel free to come by our office and we can tell you more about it if you'd like. We're near the end of this actually for today, but we'll have some time for some questions for sure. But you can also schedule an appointment with us at the Career Center. We're at Enterprise Hall, and we cover things like cover letters, resumes, LinkedIn, interviewing. I've just recently done a lot of stuff with people getting interviews, job search strategies, and so forth. I definitely want to use some of the time if you guys have any other questions, especially since we have Ty over here, just resumes in general or recruitment in general, or Stanley Martin Homes if you're here because you wanted to learn more about Stanley Martin Homes. This is from Millie. Heard you guys do LinkedIn headshots. How do we get those? Great. Great question. We do. So in our office in Enterprise Hall, it's in 038. As long as we're open during our office hours, you can come in, and if no one's using it, the photo booth is right there. We can help you if you have trouble with it, but you can take as many pictures as you'd like. It's totally free, and you can utilize it for your LinkedIn and other professional purposes. So definitely come in, Millie, for sure, and we can help you with that. And that makes a big difference too for your handshake profile as well as your LinkedIn profile. When you have a headshot in there, you'll get more attraction, especially if it's a professional one, and people will see that. For a recruiter who wants searching job seekers, is LinkedIn the preferred website?
I would tell you that we get a lot of hits from Indeed, but LinkedIn is a top choice. Number one, everybody's using Indeed, so that's where our highest application pool comes from, followed by employee referral, followed by LinkedIn, then followed by university. So I'm just kind of gave you those top four. You know what I mean? Indeed has the market on it, but it's also the employee referral, and those will get more visibility than the folks who just applied on Indeed. So that's a good thing. And then LinkedIn's a great social media platform where we're able to share our jobs and then connect with each other.
Is it possible to have both Indeed and LinkedIn just in case, or choose one?
No, no, no. Possibly you can, Indeed, you're able to just put your jobs on there. You can search jobs and apply. LinkedIn is more for networking. And then if you see a job, you can apply, but you still stay on LinkedIn. Like for instance, I'll connect with Jay after this meeting on LinkedIn so that we're connected and he can see the jobs I'm posting. He can tell me, he can also share what he's been doing, those kind of things, right? So, and then also there's times where I get referrals from LinkedIn. Jay will say, "Hey, Ty, I saw you had this post. Great post. I have someone who isn't perfect. Great." And
Yep.
then we're on, in the races for getting them in front of the hiring manager.
Yeah. And we do have a workshop on LinkedIn as well. So if you want to attend that in the future, we can give you more details. Sonia has a question on some professors have advised to not add your headshot to the resume, while others have advised me to. Which one is the right one? I, I wouldn't add it. I can answer that. I wouldn't add it to the resume, but to your LinkedIn, yes. On the resume, I would never put a headshot. But am I wrong in saying that, Ty?
You are correct. It's been customary that you do not put it on your resume. And those were, for equal opportunity. There was the EEOC standard of making sure that we weren't discriminating against because of a person's, race, ethnic background, all that kind of stuff. So having a blank shot that no picture, just their information, did not allow for biases. But I think in my mind, because of social media, if I go to your LinkedIn, then I'm going to be able to see, right?
Mhm.
So there's two thoughts right there. In the LinkedIn, we want to see a professional, good looking picture, your contact information, you're telling yourself about yourself. So on the resume, no. On your LinkedIn, I highly advise it.
Again, we have Ty here today. He's got a lot of great experience, and he could answer questions that you would like with your experiences for everyone on the call here, as you've been sending out resumes and either getting opportunities or not getting opportunities. Do you have any questions on, what's been working for you? What might have been the challenges, and or what might be going through the minds of a professional like Ty who sees so many students in college campuses, works with the military outreach, and what is, he looking for? Does military service help the resume versus those without military service?
I believe it does, but mine may be a little partial, but it does give a little bit more credence to the person. When I see someone has served in the military, then I know that they are a team player. I know that they have know how to take directions and guidance and make things happen. And it depends on where you are in your rank and what you've done. This person has, takes initiative. You don't have to worry about them being on time because they're always going to be on time. Those are things that they learned in the military, right? Mission success, all those kind of things. So when they're focused that way, that's, we tend to, especially some companies will tend to gravitate towards folks who served in the military versus not.
Yeah. And then Lyle has a question. Is it okay if you have less relevant experience on your LinkedIn profile that we don't have on our resume, or is that a red flag for recruiters?
I would like to see the that your resume matches your LinkedIn and vice versa, right? That it at least has that information. Now in the resume, you can go a little deeper and if you want and share that like I've served in the military for a long time ago, right? But I wouldn't put it, I've really kind of minimized my military experience on my resume because it was so long ago. I retired 10 years ago, right? So why would that be relevant to time now? I want to talk to some, if I'm putting my resume out, I'm looking at the last 5 to 10 years of work experience and go from there.
Yeah, the one thing though too with LinkedIn has that you could do, again, I would focus on relevant experience, but LinkedIn, you do have more room to put more information than you do on your resume.
Correct.
So you can be a little more creative on that side.
Yeah.
There's another question that Siho has on. I know some students who are trying to stand out from competitors. They put their interest on their resume. How do you guys see this?
I think, like we said earlier, if the interests must be aligned with the job opportunity that you're applying for. So I mean, if you're a marathon runner, but the job doesn't really, then it's nice to know, right? But maybe if you're a part of an organization, that's why I would say maybe professional organizations can be more connected to because, if you belong to, like we have there's one of the schools has a real estate club. One has a sales club. Those are areas where we're looking for talent. So if you belong to those groups or some of the business fraternities or sororities or organizations, that applies to or connection, or maybe that's something that I did when I was in school or the hiring manager, they get excited about that. Right. And now, oh yeah, I remember that. I remember, and then you're able, so whatever's going to make you connect, help you connect with that person, that hiring team, I would say use it, do your research because sometimes you can find out who the hiring manager is. And then you say, hey, they went to GMU a long time ago, or like Jay and I were talking, I teach part-time at Maryland. He's like, hey, I went to business school there. That's where I teach. Right. So there's that connection. So at the end of the day is what's going to attract that person to, what's going to cause that person to connect with you. So what's the connection? What's the attraction? How are you being memorable?
Yeah, yeah, and with that example that Ty said about the marathon runner, I'm not quite sure I would put that on my personal resume, but I might use that when I get the hopefully the interview, and I'm maybe
Right.
talking about teamwork or persistence or dedication to training to build something that I want to build.
Agreed. Wholeheartedly agreed. That can come out in the interview process as part of one of your accomplishments of being a team player or being disciplined and and getting things done. Those things that show what you want to be is that show accomplishment, show drive, show leadership, management, customer service, all those things that you want to be able to see and feel it from that person when you get in the interview.
Yeah. Yeah, B has a good question here too. Is it appropriate to use some of the information about a current job position description for the resume and LinkedIn, especially if trying to find a different job?
So your current job, I think a lot of times is the title that you have that we're going to be able to associate with the position that you're applying for. right? So if I have a finance analyst position, and then if you've worked in finance, and you know what, you might be a finance intern that kind of associates, or a finance associate. Those are things that are going to kind of be relevant to the current position that I have. So then I'm be able to connect it. I don't necessarily need to see the job description, but I will see the accomplishments. And if you use enumeration, and you're saying, hey, I'm a finance associate for a, $500 million, real estate operation, that's going to be close to what I'm looking for because, we're 1.2 billion dollar operation in real estate. There's a connection there that I can say, okay, let me reach out to Jay about this, or let me reach out to this person because there's some connection. So there's no need to always put a job, maybe if you're describing the job, it's a one liner, but typically we'll be able to associate your current position with the position that you applied for.
Zara has another good question. If I had to build a resume for a class, would you advise I still be specific and try to frame my resume? Or would you say it's okay, the skills and other information to be more random?
Um, Class, I would treat every time you submit your resume as I need to be specific and dial into what they're looking for, right? That's what I would share. Because if you're random, you're just putting information out there, then that doesn't quite apply, then you're wasting real estate, is what we would say, right? You have opportunity, so be more targeted and specific.
Yeah, yeah. And Zara, it's an opportunity for you to practice it and to be prepared for when you are actually looking for something specific that's out there. So think about your own personal interest and maybe find a job or an opportunity that's there that maybe you're not going to absolutely apply for, but you can utilize that as an example as you're crafting your resume.
Correct.
Then we have a question from Daniel. I would like to add something to Lyle for those who may have less experience or less involvement, like voluntary. Is that also a red flag? Because there are some who may not have experience needed. My other question is, how does one gain experience as there is a common theme is that you need experience, but some of the jobs are entry level, or how does a job seeker fix that?
Sometimes I've met students and folks who say, I didn't work in high school. I'm not working now, just focus on school, right? So then that's where you kind of talk about you do have the opportunity while you're at school to join organizations that can help you, network and build stronger, experience, right? If you have an opportunity to join an organization, let's just say a real estate club or sales club or accounting club. I always see those finance clubs. Those guys are always together, or fraternities or sororities that are doing nonprofit work. Be a part of that and be active. So start building on that part, right? You're going to school for a reason. So join some of the organizations that kind of, help you build your network and your brand, right? That's what I would share. And then go out and get some more experience. Freshman, okay, I got it. We just graduated high school and you're getting through your first year. Get a job part-time during the summertime and just help build and continue because next year you're going to be a sophomore. You just keep building off of that.
Yeah, no, and one thing that I did, I'm a self-professed. I was a late starter when I was in college. I was an athlete and I was focused so much on sport that I didn't really think about what I wanted to do. And I was following everything that my parents wanted me to do and not really what I wanted to do. And then when I finally woke up and then started to look at things, I really just asked myself, like, what's most important to me, and what are the gaps? I started to talk to people like Ty. So I ended up in HR. So I ended up talking to recruiters, even to be honest. Started asking them, "Is like, what is it that you're doing?" I landed into this HR major last minute because I needed to graduate.
Hmm.
And when I was sitting there and doing that, I started to talk to the professionals that were out there through associations and meetings. I was getting a lot of good intel about the skills that were required and needed and what they did when they were in my shoes. And I was like, wow, I got all that. Here's what I have. And so that I was able to really reshape my own resume and my job search and my skills and everything where I had a lot more confidence and I had a lot more intel that you can't just find on the internet and you can't just find from reading in a book or going to a class or taking a class. You're getting it from true people that are actually doing the work right now. And most people want to talk about what they do. That's why we talk about
Hmm.
networking and everything. And the worst that someone's going to say is no if you ask them for some of their time. And you only took a minute to ask them. But if you get those one or two or three golden people that can really help you, you'll learn a lot, not only about the industry but about yourself too, and how you match it. So don't count those things out and find how you can create those gaps. So after I spoke to all those people, I saw my gaps. I saw what I was missing, and then I looked at opportunities from volunteering in the community where I could help. Like I ended up helping at a rec center where I was looking at the way that they were putting their policies and their processes together because I was weak at that. I had never done that before. But then once I did that, I was able to go into interviews and I was able to tell that story. And it really helped me as I got my first job out of college. So, how does social media play a role in resume and job seeking? And what
Hmm.
are the things that a job seekers, I don't know if it's a job seeker or the employers see?
Yeah. So, once you apply to our position or you reach out to me on LinkedIn and say, "Hey, I saw, we're gonna ask you to share, your updated resume." That's what I always ask. So please share your updated resume and, what your interest is, that you're looking for. So that starts a conversation. And after that, you've applied for the position and we're really if we're doing a background check or we might check your social media platform if so I always say Google yourself, because you don't never know what's out there. Make sure you clean up some things that that might have been in the past. So we always kind of use that as an opportunity, right? Um, AI is a great tool to enhance your information, your resume, but make sure that it's, I won't say it's speaking for you, but if you've responded back to me and oh man, this guy's strong communicator, and then when I talked to you, I was like, what happened to that strong communicator, right? Because they used AI to do everything and they're not comfortable in themselves. So you have to be comfortable in yourself to use it to enhance your skill set, but not to be who you are.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for sharing that. First off, I want to thank everybody for attending today. As I said, I will be sending a copy of this presentation. I will also include a bonus of the cover letter information so that you can see that as well. And I want to say again a special thank you to Ty Clifton. Really appreciate all your support, not only for our students in our university, but just taking time from your day to share your knowledge. I think it definitely is helpful. It was helpful to me to hear some of the things that are going on. And oh, there's a question that maybe that someone wants, and this will be good for you before we close. Please explain what does Stanley Martin Homes do, and is there a website that explains about the company? Yes, there is a
Sure.
website, but I'll let Ty
Yeah.
speak to that.
So I mentioned it earlier. Stanley Martin is a residential construction company. So our mission is to design and build homes that people love at a price they can afford. Right. So we're building new homes. They could be single family homes, multifamily homes, condominiums, townhomes, apartments, duplexes, those the homes that people live in. And we're across the 7 state region from Maryland all the way down to Florida. So you can feel free to go to the Stanley Martin website and pull us up. You can see what we do. And then there's also the career page. You can see the job opportunities they have. Jay, feel free to share my email address. I have no shame
Great,
in doing that. Feel
great.
free. Or you guys can connect with me on LinkedIn. Happy to connect with you and be a part of your network.
Thank you everybody for your time. We hopefully will see you at another workshop and or in our office, and definitely keep in touch. And hopefully you found this helpful today.
All right. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.